there's been shown to be a business model of disrespecting black women. There's whole entire industries that are based off of profiting off of black women. People think that they can not only wrong to just do it, but adding a whole other level of wrong onto it from the exploitation perspective of making money from it. So that's what's become extremely problematic. More recently, people like Kevin Samuels are being called out for different reasons. The Joe Budden podcast gave him a platform to really talk about himself, his show, what he does. That has set a lot of fires that are not out yet.
The interview was my first introduction to Kevin Samuels and his ideals and the way that he interacts with the people who call into his show. He is an image consultant. He says that the majority of people that call into his show are women looking for what he describes as a high value man, and that's a man who makes six figures and has a certain look about him, classically handsome, stuff like that. He consults these women about, okay, well, you want this type of man. Are you the type of woman that type of man wants? And he's saying more often than not, they're not. And so he consults them and he gives them advice on what to do to become that type of woman.
It's from his perspective.
From his perspective. So he certainly has ideals about body weight.
He's a black man, but it feels like it's coming from a European perspective. The images that he's describing and the things that he's talking about, it doesn't feel like it's coming from the culture. Like, it doesn't feel like it's coming from a black African perspective. Like, it sounds very Eurocentric. But I just want to say that because when you're talking about beauty or weight and these things, it's not even from the point of like things that match what we like.
After watching the interview, I did look back on his shows to see exactly how he's interacted with some of the callers. So he also talks about submission within a relationship or within a marriage where the woman ultimately submits to her husband, and he ultimately has the last word or is the leader in the family of the relationship. So he's saying the black women that he interacts with don't want to play that role. That's not really their personality.
He always refers to them as modern women. I hear him say that a lot. Looking at a lot of his Instagram, always says like the modern woman.
He mentions women from the 70s a lot, black women from the 70s who didn't weigh as much overall and had more opposite of modern women's personality. He gives women ratings on their appearance. Without makeup can be rated from 1 to a 10.
Which is so problematic. It's so problematic as it is to try to rate a person on a numerical scale. It's problematic. Let's be honest. Anybody that sits and rates somebody and breaks their appearance down on a numerical scale that there's no basis out of to begin with, and also on top of that is coming from the scope of a Eurocentric point of beauty, it's just so problematic on so many levels. Literally, scientifically looking up and down at this woman like a slave back in the day. That's how they rated us. They would look at us and based off of our appearances would rate us. I can't say that I've watched all of this stuff, but from what I saw, it's problematic. I just went off on a tangent.
He asks people to rate themselves first, and then he gives them the rating according to him. He tells them what they can work on to bring their rating up and to be more desirable to the type of man that they desire. It's tough love. He says he's doing this because he does love black people. He wants to see more black relationships thrive.
And he's saying it's the women that are calling into him, asking for his opinion. These women are calling into him, asking him for his opinion.
It's his opinion, and to be fair, he does throw out statistics, throw out data quite often.
Conflated data. He is a data conflator. He is a habitual data conflator. Man, I have to coin that term. But no, he is, because it almost tricked me. Like, yeah, well, the black family is not the unit that it used to be. Yes, that's true. And then he might say something like, black women do tend to be the more educated or have the most access to education and more hired in the workplaces, which is all true. Like, he's giving facts. This is data that's out there. This is data that has already been proven. It's definitely deceitful because people will give you some of the truth, but then they'll give you the non-based fact truth. But because you heard some data and some facts, you think, okay, this person's coming from a place of logic or a place of something that's going to help me. That's the part that almost pulled me in. His delivery, the method on which he operates, the advice on which he gives, it's not accurate. There's no monolith that says this is the only way that you do things. And I think that's really the problem when you really get down to it, is he tries to describe things in a way that is a monolith. Giving this advice of this is what these high value men want based off of his clients, his experience. My stance is that he doesn't have enough data to say what he's saying, just kind of bringing it back to our definition. We have to be able to identify those values that we are important to us and what is important and what's not important and what we consider to be high value. I can say the things that he says that are true is he does have statistics that do talk about the Black family, how marriage rates within the Black families are lower compared to other communities. But there's so many levels of systematic racism that's also attached to that. It's not just a finger to point at a Black woman. It's like, fingers are pointing this way. Fingers are being pointed at Black men for accountability. Fingers are being pointed at Black women for accountability. But it has to be done together. And I guess if I'm really just ironing out my main problem with him, is that he's capitalizing off of this and he's also putting it on a platform that's not giving Black men and Black women a chance to have these conversations together. So it's just putting out this polarizing clip or video, and then the Black women go and talk about it and the Black men go and talk about it. And when we try to come in together and talk about it, we're already at a disconnect, or we're already speaking a different language, and you never seem to come together with those conversations to the point where both parties leave saying, okay, we've talked about this, we've come to a conclusion, now this is how we're gonna move forward, and this is how we're gonna work together going forward. I feel extremely blessed that for us, we had the things that were important to us. Church for us was huge, not just the physical church, but our Christian values, spirituality. Submitting your will to God has always been an extremely important prayer. And that's something that, like, as a man, if you can't submit your will to God, and then you can't also submit to your marriage, then you can't talk and expect the woman to submit to you. It's not gonna add up. And I think that's something that a lot of these men hear him talk about and say, oh, the Black woman has a problem with submission and just that term. But it's not, he's not coming at it from the perspective of when you're talking about God and when you're talking about the man's ability to submit to a higher power and also to submit to that union. And then it becomes problematic from that perspective. Mm-hmm. And from other perspectives. He's getting paid for this. This is entertainment. This is monetization. The interview that he was on was basically a whole marketing campaign to get more people to go and watch his stuff, which worked because we went and watched it and never seen it before. So his views are going up. He's over here laughing himself to the bank. He might not even believe this stuff, but he's monetizing off of it. And it's doing nothing but just bringing more problems within the so-called Black community that he's trying to help uplift, which is even more problematic. So there's a lot of levels of problematicness. And for me, I can't just be one of those people that just hear it and don't say anything. We owe it to the platform that we're building to speak on it and say that we're not okay with it. We're not here for the disrespect of Black women. We love Black women. This is a platform that highlights Black love. If you have some questions for us about love questions, you can put it in a DM, email, share some insights with you. It can shape future videos that we do to talk some more about questions that you might have. We're not image consultants.
We are a real life Black married couple.
Yeah, and we do have some expertise that we can offer, and we won't do it publicly, and we won't do it in a way that's disrespectful. We'll definitely do a future video and podcast with some more love advice that also shares more about Black love and the importance of what we're trying to build. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Also hit the notification so that you can be notified on when our videos come. Thank you for watching. Stay blessed.